Welcome back to the Life Outside podcast. My name is Cam Bostock, and on this episode I chat with Toon and Lin, also known as Noodles and Blisters Online. Toon and Lin thru-hiked the length of New Zealand on Te Araroa in 2024, documenting the ups and downs of the journey through daily vlogs on Instagram. Since then, the couple has hiked across the globe and built an audience of over 100,000 outdoor enthusiasts. We chat about the realities of creating content whilst thru-hiking, how hiking with your partner has both positives and negatives, and why Te Araroa is both one of the best and also toughest trails on earth. We hope you enjoy. Toon and Lin, welcome to the podcast. Excited to meet you guys face to face. We're just chatting a bit before we started recording, and we've been sort of following each other on Instagram for quite some time, so it's good to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, and I don't get too many couples on the show, so it's exciting to get some unique insights into life on trail as a couple, because I feel like it's relatively rare through hiking couples. My wife and I did our first ever long distance hike together this year. We walked the Camino de Santiago the French way together, so 30 days walking, which was an interesting experience, mostly positive, but you guys have spent the last couple of years. You guys have spent the last couple of years hiking a lot together, so I'm interested to sort of get your insights. But I started following you guys when you were walking Te Araroa in, I guess, last year, right? Beginning of last year. Is that correct? And I was on the Pacific Crest Trail, and I remember just like whenever I got reception, I'd see your daily vlogs pop up and be showing the trail family and telling them I was on that trail last year because I walked it in 2023, and it's just bringing back all the memories. So I really appreciated you guys documenting that, and you guys have been on some even some wild adventures since then. So really cool to have you guys on. I appreciate you making the time.
Likewise, thanks.
Yeah,
super excited.
What brought you guys to the start of Te Araroa? Because Lin, I think it was your first overnight hike or like step into backpacking, right? This huge through hike across New Zealand. I don't know how much you had done Toon before TA. I think you'd done a few backpacking trips in Europe, right? But walking across New Zealand is it's a big endeavor, and TA is not an easy trail. A lot of it is remote, rugged, difficult. The weather can be pretty crazy, and you guys are from the Netherlands, which is a pretty flat sort of country, right? So what brought you to the start line of Te Araroa?
Yeah, I think so. I had probably a little bit of backstory. Before we were both working, we met each other playing on the beach with beach volleyball. Obviously, we don't have much mountains, so it was hard to meet on the mountains. But then we were both working. I had my own company that I sold after a while, and then I went on a bike journey. So that was kind of my first big trip. And on the bike journey from the Netherlands to Turkey. So that was quite an endeavor also. And then we met in Albania, where we met again for some hiking. And I think that is kind of where our hiking or love for hiking started, I suppose.
I guess so, yeah. I was working at a big corporate. Tony was working at his startup 50 hours a week. And then after 8 months of dating, he went on his first big adventure. He first wanted to bike to China, but I renegotiated. It's like, let's do halfway. And, yeah. And then so in Albania, we decided we also want to do a big adventure, us together. And I guess you were probably part of the reason we started going, because I do remember Tony was very passionately following all your videos on Instagram.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then we read a book from Tim Force. So we kind of decided we want to do a big adventure together. We want to walk. So I decided biking is probably not my thing so much. It took a few kilometers to find that out. But then during our walking in Albania, that adventure was so nice. It was so much freedom and just enjoying, and it was so nice together. And there was this book from Tim Force, who also walked the TA the year before, I think, who also did the PCT. And then after reading that book and following your videos, we were just like, yeah, fuck it. We always wanted to go to New Zealand. We're still young, don't have kids. Like, this is the time to go somewhere far. European adventures kind of always felt achievable.
Yeah.
So yeah,
This was the
that's
time.
how we ended up there.
Yeah, but I guess it's good to mention I was very scared because for me it was my very first long distance hike. So I've never done much hiking before, so I was really nervous, and we had a deal that if I didn't like it, we would stop and we would buy a van and just do New Zealand with a van. So it was every day, every week we just decided to continue.
We reassessed.
We reassessed, yes.
Well, that's what you got to do sometimes. It's about taking that first sort of leap and then just figuring it out along the way. So, so well done for taking that leap. Because spoiler alert, you guys
Yeah.
did make it to the end, and I watched all of your vlogs as you were hiking the trail. It did not look easy. New Zealand can throw some crap at you. What made you guys decide to start in Bluff? So you started on the south end of Te Araroa, which is definitely not the most popular way to walk the trail. Most people start in Cape Reinga in the north. Probably like 80-90% of people start north, right? I also started south. For me, it was just like a timing issue. I couldn't get over to New Zealand until sort of like February, which is pretty late in the through hiking season over there, and so starting south just made a bit more sense. But starting south is also just harder because the South Island is the hard
Yeah.
half of TA. So for you, Lynn, like your first ever hike, you're starting at the hardest section
Oh,
of one of the hardest through hikes in the world. It's pretty wild.
yes, I remember completing Longwood Forest, and Tone was filtering water in some stream, and then he came back to the tent, and I was just crying. It was, I don't know, I'm not sure if I can do this anymore. This is not fun at all. So no, it was a rough start, and for us, it was exactly the same as you, a timing issue as well. I couldn't leave my job before I think the end of January, so we could start on the exact day of my birthday. So February 3rd, we started.
Wow. What
Yeah.
were your expectations going into Te Araroa? It's likely going to take 3-4 plus months, and it's going to take a significant part of your year. Were you guys excited, nervous? Lynn, you said you're a little bit scared coming over.
That's an understatement, I think. No, it was excitement, I think, at first, but I think the anxiety also kind of happened when we arrived in Bluff and we started to meet all those people that just finished.
Oh yeah.
And I
Mm,
don't know, we probably met the wrong, not the wrong people, but they were a bit skeptical. I would say they were like, "Oh, you should skip this whole part of Longwood Forest, and it's gonna be hard. Every day is gonna be harder." They were very,
Negative.
yeah, a bit negative, and they were only asking about gear. Like,
Oh yeah. I
what's your
also,
base weight? And
yeah. Tony, he loves his Excel sheets. He loves everything about the gear, the planning, the routes. Like he made the schedule. He did everything you could do, and I just followed. I guess I followed along. Just wanted to do the hiking part, and then we met some people that were also so obsessed about all the gear, all the lightweight, and they were cutting their toothbrush in half to save the weight, and I
yeah.
that's not really the conversation I was used to having. So I was panicking starting out. Yeah.
I remember the exact same thing because if you start south, you're starting, February, March, and that's when all the people that started north are finishing. And so you've got these people who've just been through 3 months, 4 months of hiking. They've done all the hard sections. They've, got their base weight down to the lowest it's going to be because they've had time to figure everything out and throw away things they didn't need. And you're just meeting all these people at the end of the journey who are like, damn, that was tough. And you guys don't know what you're in for,
yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. I had the exact same conversations, and you really do get thrown into the fire on the south end of TA.
oh
Like
yeah,
you guys have mentioned a couple of times, the Longwood Forest is notoriously difficult. But even before that, you got some beach walking, and you're like walking out of Bluff along a highway with big trucks blaring past, and it's like, holy crap, this is wild. For those who don't know Tiaroa, give us the lowdown on the Longwood Forest, because it's definitely an interesting welcome to the trail.
That it was.
It was, yeah.
For how best to describe it.
I think when you're going southbound, it's a bit better because then you are already very fit. And I've heard the southbounders, they did it in one go. And so for us, it would be 2 days. And Longwood Forest is a section, and it's notoriously muddy. And I don't think muddy is the good word to describe it, because the mud, it comes up until your thighs, I guess, at some points. So to your thighs, your knees, it's just, I think the first day for us was 13 hours or 14
13, yeah.
hours in the mud, in the rain, and then yeah, it was a terrible day.
And then I think what adds to this is, we were just coming out of the comfort of our homes, our lives, that we left back here, and you arrived there, and the first night in Longwood Forest is, I can't remember the name, Martin's Hut or something. It's the most
Mm,
rundown hut of the whole TA, and by
that's a piece of
far,
crap.
and there's just, it's a piece of crap, basically.
Yes.
There's just cracks everywhere. There's like, you have the feeling that there's mice running around, that there's wind coming through. There's no shower, and all these things that you normally kind of get used to along the trail, but in that very moment, you're just covered up in mud. You're cold. You're soaked. Yeah. I don't know. It was just also a lot getting used to that kind of discomfort, and yeah, I think that adds to.
It's a bit of a trial by fire. You start the trail, and it's like, if you can get through this, you can probably get through the rest. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
true.
oh geez, it's best described as probably like a swimming pool of mud in parts. It's just it's messed up. I don't know um, how it's even a
Yeah,
trail at times. I had a guy, Billy Meredith, on my podcast a couple of months ago. I don't know if you've heard about him and his story, but he walked Te Aroa this season. Yeah, he got the FKT, self-supported fastest known time, and
yeah,
his experience in the Longwood going southbound was just it was just like a horror show, because his feet were so messed up, and he had all these trench foot issues from having wet feet for so long, and he had to go to hospital just before the end, but then he had to go through the Longwood just to finish, and he like wrapped his feet to try and keep the mud out. But as you guys know very well, it's impossible to keep the mud out. And I think it's just everyone's going to have a crap time in the Longwood, and there's other muddy sections on TA as well, but those crappy sections are what kind of makes the amazing bits even more amazing, because you've sort of earned it.
yeah, true. And I think after looking back, it's definitely one of the most memorable experiences that last. It's one of those, yeah. So in that regard, we're happy that we did it, but at the same time, it was intense.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
Yeah, it
type
was.
two fun parts of the adventures that you remember most, that in the moment are kind of miserable, but you look back on very fondly. And those are the moments where you have the most growth as well. Like, a big reason that I through hike is to try and to grow as a person in my ability outside, but just in my ability out in life. Overcoming hard things makes hard things in the
It's
future
true.
easier, and TA had plenty of those. What was the trail like after the Longwood? There's so many beautiful parts of the South Island as you progress further north. You guys obviously are hiking together, so you've got each other, which is a huge leg up, because there's not many other northbounders, kind of going alongside you. Did you meet many other people on trail? Did you have a trail family or anything like that at any point?
I don't think it was like a trail family. We didn't do all the parts together, but I guess we had two groups, and then the whole South Island we
yeah,
walked with them, and then in the north everybody stopped. I guess almost nobody continued. But it did definitely get better after Longwood. I think at first we overestimated our fitness level, but we found out that gym fit isn't necessarily trail fit. So I guess we looked
Yeah.
way fitter than we actually were. In preparation, I guess long runs or just hikes in general are better prep than gaining muscles for walking the TA. So in Longwood, we had a rule, I guess, every 45 minutes, we could just put down our backpacks for 10 minutes and then relieve the weight for a bit. And then we would walk 45 minutes again. And I think after the first month, we were feeling very confident. We were we could walk for like 4 hours without stopping, and we were actually in a section where we saw more goats than people. And then we were complimenting each other. It's like, finally, now we can say we are trail fit. And then in the middle of nowhere, a man runs past us with like a little backpack on his shoulder. And he's very joyful, says hi to us, leaves us behind very humbled. And then we catch up with him in the hut, and he tells us he was running the TA. So I guess that's the thing about doing a big endeavor like this. Every time you feel like you are getting there, someone is always doing something
Crazier.
more extreme.
Yeah.
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 There's always a fitter hiker. Yeah, that couldn't be more true. It is a pretty magical thing, though, right? Getting your trail legs and feeling like you're actually getting like super strong. It usually happens for me a couple weeks or like maybe a month into a through hike, and you just like suddenly realize, oh, this is easy. What was really hard in the first week is like kind of just what I do every day now. And you're so right that like the gym fitness or other types of fitness that you have at home don't really transfer to through hiking. It's such a unique sort of type of fitness that you kind of just have to hike all day to get. And it's why when you come home and you can't physically hike for 12 hours a day, that you lose it so fast, because it's just like it's kind
So
of,
fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's that real unique sort of thing on trail. What were some of the highlights for you guys over the next couple of months on trail? The South Island is just epic. It's just highlight after highlight, and the north is highlights, connected by road, but still incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. Well. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, definitely. I think the most memorable things for me are maybe not necessarily the trails. The trails are stunning and the landscape is stunning. For the North Island, it was definitely the kindness of the Kiwis. We've received so much support from the people along the way. I feel like the patience and the kindness that people in New Zealand have, how proud they are of the place they live in, how welcoming they are in their homes, hitchhiking. People have been incredible. And that was such a nice experience. I feel like hiking New Zealand, I know the culture of the Netherlands and what people care about, what young people dream about. But I feel next to the Netherlands, I now know New Zealand. The politics, the way they care about the land, about their people. It was so nice meeting all those those Kiwis along the way.
Yeah. True. Yeah, I think there's so many. There's just story after story. At one point, like it just felt too much to appreciate, or like we appreciated so much, but it was so much that you received. Like I remember this one time we were walking close to, what was it, Hamilton, or like I don't know, like close to. We wanted to go to Hobbiton, and there was a guy who said like, oh, you can sleep at our place. So we met this guy for like 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, we said to him, okay, we're going to hitch to Hobbiton and see what, check this out. And he was like, well, take my car. And we were like, holy shit. Okay. Yeah. Why? Awesome. And he just drove the best car he had out of
He
the
said,
car park.
he said you should take my good car, not the crappy
Yeah,
one.
not the crappy car. And he
Yeah.
just drives this awesome car. And, obviously we drive on the other side of the road. So it was for me, like the steering wheel was on the wrong side, and we drove at the other side. And
You
and
almost hit the
almost
fence.
hit the fence driving out. And then he was just looking and I saw him in the rear mirror like, oh, fuck, this is going well.
Yeah.
And then we drove to Hobbiton, and I think we just enjoyed our time there. And at one point, we received a message: "You are coming back, right?"
Yeah.
And then we came back, and we had a family at his place, and it was just so awesome. Like, this stuff is just something we've never experienced in the Netherlands, and I think that true hiking makes you so vulnerable to, yeah, in general, because all you have is your own feet, and you are reliant on people, and dependent, and then you will receive. And I think that is just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. One time we thought we could camp somewhere, and it turned out to be like a campsite for camper vans. So we were not allowed to pitch our tent, and the park felt a bit sketchy, and there were those very nice houses next to the park. And we were a bit further in our journey, and we've received so much kindness from all the people along the way. So we decided we were going to ring a doorbell and ask if we were allowed to pitch the tent in the garden. So we were very nervous. Tony was a bit behind me because we felt like, um,
Like burglars.
but yeah, it's good to mention that Tony is almost 2 meters. Dutch guys are very tall, so we didn't want to scare the person. And when you've been hiking for a long time,
Looked like
we
hobos.
looked like hobos. Yep. So we rang the doorbell, super nervous, and then a man opens, and then I start asking very nervously if we could pitch the tent in his garden, and he looks at us, he looks at Tony, and then he says, "No, no, you cannot." Of course not. No, you should stay in our house. We have an extra room. We just made dinner. Tomorrow, my wife and I, we are taking the boat. You should join us for a boat ride too. And I guess the moments like this, you will never experience that when you rent a fancy camper van and just drive around for 3 weeks. It's moments I guess will stay with me forever.
Yeah, it's through hiking. The communities around through hiking trails are so special, and like you said, you will never experience that kind of generosity and openness, pretty much in any other situation. Like that's literally like a dream come true. Getting given a car to go visit Hobbiton as a side trip off to Araroa. I couldn't think of a funner situation. I was very lucky to have my wife. She hired a van and she drove the North Island as I walked it, and so she drove me out to Hobbiton, which was pretty special.
Ah,
But even on the Pacific Crest Trail last year, we had a similar situation where this family up in Washington towards the end of the hike, they picked us up from the trail and drove us back to their home and hosted us, and they were just so generous. They had prepared all this food for us to eat while we're at their home, and then we wanted to go explore the town, which they lived a bit out of town, and they were like, "Yeah, just take our car, no worries at all." And it was a really nice car, and they just allowed us to take it by ourselves, and we just explored the town for a day and came back, and it blew my mind. Like that kind of thing is not super common here in Australia either. I think it's uh it's just these communities around the through hikes where people know that there's hikers in need, and like you said, Tony, like, you're very vulnerable when you're a hiker. It's just you and your backpack, and so you kind of have to rely on people, and people are just incredible. I think that's yeah, for me, most of the highlights from my through hikes are the people as well. And it's funny, like I asked for the highlights of Aotearoa, and it's like some of the most beautiful places in the world, but you just go straight to the people. It really tells it all.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. And it was also, the South Island was just so fun with all the people in the huts, the people we met along the way. We had a really nice group of people that we walked with, and yeah, just to share this experience also together. I think that was also super special. Yeah, I probably the most special thing of the whole TA is just that you get to spend so much time together and get to know each other in ways that are quite challenging. Like there's lack of food, lack of sleep, physical just exhaustion, and being able to just go through everything together is just really really awesome.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's a powerful way to build relationships with friends and partners is on trail, because you see the worst of each other, you see the best of each other, you see, what each other is capable of, and you get to experience all of the highest highs together as well. Some of my best friends in the world are people that I've hiked on trails with for long periods of time, and you just simply don't get to spend that much time with anyone in regular life. Like, when are you ever going to spend 24 hours a day for months on end with a mate at home, or even a partner? I don't spend that much time with my wife at home. So, that was really special for me
Yeah.
this year, hiking across Spain with my wife, because we got to spend every waking moment together, and it was really hard at times, and we got to see parts of each other that we had literally never seen, and we've been married for almost 10 years. It's a really, really special thing. Well, there's some hard parts to walking together as well. Like, how'd you go with your paces? How'd you share your gear between each other? Like, I know there's a lot of extra things to think about when you're hiking with someone. I have a few mates that do it a lot, and it's not always easy.
It's not always, but I guess we were together a year and a half when we started hiking the TA. So everybody around us warned us or said, "Well, this will be the big relationship test," and we didn't take it very seriously. But they were right in the end. I think generally we are very calm people. And I guess the good thing is when things get hard, we don't start to get annoyed with each other, more angry at the situation. But there were some times where we kept our distance. I walked a bit in front of him, listened to some music. You were behind me.
Yeah, I think sometimes you just need some space, and then
Yeah.
physical space helps.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that was kind of our go-to when things got a bit hard, or you just needed your own space. It was mostly music that solved it,
Mm.
and afterwards a good discussion. And in terms of like, yeah, I think pace-wise, I'm not too sure. I think I was pretty good going uphill, and Lynn is very good going downhill. So in that regard, yeah, we kind of were not the best match because we were going slower a bit up and slower down because of me.
Yeah.
And I think generally speaking, we were probably not the fastest hikers. Even after 3 or 4 months, we just decided we are probably not not the
No.
fast kind of hikers. We are just like to take our time, and yeah, our
Take many breaks.
yeah.
Eat many snacks. We invested in a lot in lightweight gear, then ended up eating an excessive amount of food, and we really wanted to make our meals as nice as possible. So Tony carries most of the shared gear, I guess, like the stove and tent. But then we also bring so many snacks. We almost ate like a kilo of chocolate, I think, a day. At
No, no,
home.
no. A
Oh,
section,
a section. No, no,
right?
no. More. Definitely more.
Can't
Well,
remember. It was a lot.
it was a
It
lot.
was a lot of weight. I remember that our base weight was pretty decent. I think at least for starting out, and then we would just bring a kilo a day in food per person.
We felt ashamed when we were at the hut, and then people are just eating like very normal meals, and then our bag would sit on the table, and we would just keep on going with the snacks. People looked at us horrified and jealous at times.
That's the good
Yeah.
thing about having a low base weight, is you can afford to carry more food. And I'm the same as you guys. I didn't lose any weight pretty much on the entire Pacific Crest Trail, and I would always be carrying the most food. I think I was pretty rarely in a calorie deficit on trail, and if I was in a deficit in a hiking section, I would more than make up for it in towns. And the people I was hiking with, like my trail family that I ended the trail with, both Dan and Emma lost like 10 or 15 kilograms each. It was like a crazy amount of weight that they
Wow.
lost. And I was like, I got
Wow.
on the scale when I got home, and I'm like, I'm the same weight as when I left. Like, I must be eating a
That's
lot, but
awesome.
for me, that's
Same for us. I guess
I was gonna say,
we
for
even
me, that's
gained
like,
some
I don't
weight
know,
after
it's
finish.
you gain some weight, yeah. That's great. That's very rare on a through
In the
hike.
North Island. Yeah. Yeah, but there were these pies, man. The pies in
Oh
in
yeah.
in in the North Island. There was just pies every 2 days. The sections would get so small, and you would just get to towns every 2 days, and there were always these awesome pies that
Yeah,
I
not
still
like
miss.
the sweet pies, but the
Yeah,
uh,
savory
savory kind. So good.
and
Yeah, the pies in New Zealand are good. The pies in Australia are better, I've got to say. I don't know if you guys are planning to come visit Australia anytime soon. We have some good hiking, and I'll show you some bloody brilliant pies. That's that's something I definitely miss when I go to Europe and America. It's like all the pies are sweet. I'm like, what is
oh
this?
yeah,
Like, for us, a pie is like mince and meat and steak. What was it like finishing
oh
Te
man, I love
Aroa? You guys spent over 100 days on trail, and I know your last day was. I think you had some pretty bad weather, and you guys. It was just you two
that.
out there, but it would have been pretty special to complete that.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. You know how, I mean, the same for you. Like everyone kind of does these 24-hour challenges to see how far they get. And I know on the PCT you did just an incredible amount of miles. For us, we got to 60K, which we found already pretty decent, which was so the two sections on 90 miles beach. And so we said, okay, the last 12, I think, k or so, we will do the last day. And the moment we walked out of our tent, I think it started raining. And at one point you don't really mind the rain anymore, so we just put on a jacket but no rain pants. I think we just walked in our shorts, I think.
Mm.
And then it also started to get cold, and by the time we almost arrived there, we were just completely soaked and cold and everything. And there was mist, and there was hardly anyone out there, and we just kind of started panicking, like, oh shit, okay, yeah, we didn't arrange any
Transport.
transport for going into town or even to a campsite. We didn't have food anymore, and all these yeah, gnarly thoughts kind of were in our heads. But then the moment we arrived, we actually met someone who said, okay, or at least not we didn't arrive yet, but close to. And we met someone who said, oh, I'm happy to drive you to the campsite. So that kind of brought some peace. And then yeah, we could, it was really special arriving at Cape Reinga.
At the end, it
At the
was.
end,
Yeah.
it was definitely a moment, an emotional moment.
Yeah. We needed to have like a change of mindset, because I guess when you were nearing the finish, we saw our friends posting about it, and they had a beautiful blue sky and drinking champagne out of their shoes or boots, and it looked so nice. So I guess we just envisioned it different, and then it was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow at first, but then it was a very nice moment arriving there. We were very, very emotional. And then we stepped into a car of a stranger, and then the car drives back the part that we just walked in 3 days in like 20 minutes. And we said, like, they asked, like, all right, what are you doing here? And we were so proud and said, we just finished hiking the length of New Zealand. And she said, "Oh, nice. My son did a 3-day hike a couple of weeks ago." And then that was it. They didn't ask any questions. They were not interested at all. And we were just looking at each other like, "Oh my God, we did such a big thing for us, and now it's done."
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they gave us a pie.
They gave us a pie. That was true.
That was the highlight.
Yeah.
I find that happens
Yeah.
so much when I get back from a big hike is people ask you the basic questions like, how was it? It looked cool or whatever. But that's pretty much the extent of it, and they'll relate in ways like that person did with, oh, I've done a backpacking trip before. I spent 2 days hiking. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But you just, yeah, people just don't understand what it is, and I don't think you can unless you do it. Through hiking is such a unique endeavor, walking for months and months in the wild, only relying on each other and what's in your backpack. And that's what's so special about it, is that it's something that only you guys will have, that experience. This episode of the Life Outside podcast is proudly brought to you by OptiVenture, the world's first all-in-one supplement specifically designed for outdoor adventurers. It's been my favorite health, performance, and recovery tool for the last couple of years, both in training and while on trail. It's super simple. Just take 3 sunrise capsules each morning for sustained energy and to help optimize gut health, immunity, and mental clarity. And then take 3 sunset capsules at night to help sleep more deeply, recover more efficiently, and keep inflammation low. I've used it on long trails like the Pacific Crest, as well as on my Bibbleman track, fastest known time completion. And I also just use it in my daily life as it replaces more than 10 individual supplements. It's simple, comprehensive, and built for my adventurous lifestyle. If you want the easiest, most effective way to stay healthy, perform well, and recover faster both on and off the trail, I can't recommend it enough. Head to optiventure.co and use Life Outside for 10% off your order. All right, let's get back into today's episode. Did you guys experience the post-trail blues, the post-trail depression that is pretty common with through hikers? I know when I was done Araroa, I was just missing it so much for literally months after, and it's the same with all of my long hikes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, because I think the thing that I liked most about, so for me also the bike trip, but also the TA, is that for months in time you just have such a clear goal, and every day you're just making progress towards that goal, and you're just enjoying, you're so much in the present. And I think after finishing, that goal is gone, and you need something else kind of to, yeah, to fill that gap. For us, I think what really helped was that we still had, I think, did we travel for 5 more months after that?
Yeah, yeah.
So we still said, okay, afterwards we're just going to go to Australia. We went a few days. Then we went to the Philippines and to India and Malaysia and Nepal. And there was just so much coming still. And we also really enjoyed taking a break, kind of like enjoying in the Philippines on the beach, surfing, and just, yeah. So I think the blues were delayed until we got home. Maybe that's the right thing after 10 months of traveling. Yeah.
Yeah, you just extended the trip by an extra 5 months to to keep the blues away. You guys were
Yeah.
daily vlogging throughout TA. How did you enjoy that? Was that something that you really loved? I'm assuming it was, because since then you guys have been, creating some incredible content, and you've got, your website and blogs and, documenting all the post TA travels. It's just been incredible to follow, just personally. How was that daily vlogging while through hiking and then transitioning into the 5 months of travel?
So the vlogging part is mostly me. Tony does the voiceovers, but I do like the scripts and the editing. I've never done something like, it was my first time hiking and also first time editing and making videos. So I felt like I guess we just wanted to document it at first for friends and family, and we got inspired by your page to do it in the way we did. And for me, it was I not only fell in love with hiking, but also with making content about it. It really made it better for me just to look at everything that's beautiful along the way, to find the nice shots, to make the stories about it, and that's where people started following us, I guess, that or they wanted to do the hike or they already did the hike and wanted to relive it. And the community, the hiking community, they are such nice people. So it's so nice to connect with them, to share your outdoor experience. It was really special, and it's such a crazy thing that now we can call it a job.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's interesting. Like, a question I get asked a lot is, does creating content while hiking take away from the experience? But, similarly to what you were saying, Lynn, for me, it literally only enhances it. There aren't really any negatives for me. It adds so much to the depth of the journey to be thinking about sharing it with people and to tell the story of each day. It's really powerful, and to be able to inspire people to get outside is obviously just a super cool thing. But then to be able to look back on the journeys that I've been on, in such a detailed way is the most magical thing in the world. Like I can look back 2 years ago to my daily vlogs in Araroa, and I'm just teleported back to the Longwood Forest, or while you pass in a snowstorm, or you know the Tararuas, the terrible weather, and it's such a gift to myself. And I'm sure it's the same for you guys. You've got that log of every day on trail and all the days since and all the travels. It's just such a cool thing, such a cool gift to give to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's Tony. He loves to write, so we had this routine where I edited the videos in the evenings or during a 0 day, and he wrote the days down. So we have like a more in depth the thoughts and the feelings behind every day, and then we have the images of all our days on trail, and it's such a nice backlog to, yeah, maybe in 20 years we can relive the experience again.
Yeah, or shorter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's very true. I think even now, like, just it's so funny because Lynn is editing a lot on her phone, and every now and then when we return from a trip, and I walk around the house and I see just Lynn smiling while making these videos, and yeah, it's such a creative process. And for you, I think it just works really well to make the script and then actually have something, because every time it's kind of like a small piece of art, or at least that's how I see it. But yeah, I think it's super special what you're doing. That it's so, yeah, nice to have like a 60-second recap of a day or of a week, or yeah.
Yes, the dangerous part is that when you edit everything back, you kind of forget about the hard moments. Like even like 3 days later, you look at the images and you're like, "Wow, it's so beautiful. Hiking is so amazing. Why aren't we back on trail yet?" And you forget about the sand flies and the hunger and all the hardship. So every time I start editing again, uh, I'm pushing for another hike as well.
It's a criticism a lot of content creators get is you make things look so good when in reality it's not all that good. And unfortunately, it's just like sort of a natural byproduct of filming on trail. When things are really hard, it's kind of hard to film. And so then when you're editing, you don't have those really hard moments on
Yeah,
camera. When the sandflies are attacking you from every direction, or you're starving, or you're freezing cold, it's like getting out the camera to film is really hard, which is why I also like writing
yeah,
at the end of every day on trail. And I try to really put, yeah, like my feelings and the ups and the downs of a day in text format. So at least I can sort of remember that. But I also do try my best to film the tough moments. I remember in the Longwood Forest, I very begrudgingly walked ahead and set my phone up on a tripod, like on a tree or something, and then like walked back through the mud and then walked through the mud towards the camera again, like multiple times. And like I did not want to do that, I'll tell you right now. But I'm glad I have those clips, and I'm glad people got to see them, because it's just the reality
Yeah,
of through hiking. There's some crappy moments as well.
that's true.
absolutely. Yeah, but I think what's interesting, when I asked you after the trip, like, what was the hardest thing? Do you remember what you said?
No.
You said it was the food. So
Oh,
even though we carried, I would say, above average levels of food, eating every day cold soaked oats, and having your crappy coffee in the morning, and just every day, I think we ate couscous mostly, or noodles, of course. I think, I mean, that's one of the things you cannot film. It's mentally tough or boring at some point, and these are the things you cannot. I mean, you can explain, but it's hard to put on camera, I feel.
that's true.
Yeah, it's hard to capture monotony, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was worried about the food from the start, and then I even debated like taking all the tiny spices with me. And Tony talked me out of most of my luxury items. In the beginning, the food was fine because when you're so hungry, everything tastes good. But I guess after 3 months of eating the same food, I was done with the same thing every day.
Yeah, through hiking food can get old real quick, and it's kind of hard to spice it up as well because there's quite often very limited options in towns, and you can't carry too much fresh food out anyway because it's super heavy and it spoils quickly, and it's just like there's a reason hikers just resort to ramen and couscous and oats because it's just like the easiest and lightest option, but it's not particularly exciting, that's for sure. I would always try and bring out like at least an apple and like an avocado with me on trail at every town stop because it's like having that just tiny bit of freshness, even though it weighs a bit more, it just makes like all the difference sometimes when you're in the middle of nowhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We started doing that for the first days, and especially in the North Island, there was just much more possible. Yeah.
You guys mentioned that you're making money off content now. It's almost a job for you, which is pretty cool, seeing as you just started creating content last year on Araroa. What's that journey been like for you? Because I know there's people listening that that's the dream is to hike for a living and travel for a living, and sometimes it can seem almost impossible. But I've followed your journey over the last year, and you guys have just absolutely crushed it. How's that experience been for you guys whilst traveling, whilst being at home, and turning it into a job?
Mm. I think we were worried because it takes a long time. I guess you really need to love making the videos if you want to make it work. Sometimes I get frustrated to see all those courses online promising you how easy it is to do it. Just post every day, and I guess if you don't like it, if you don't like storytelling, if you don't love the thing you're posting about, I wouldn't recommend getting into it. If you just like hiking, please just do the hikes. But I really, really liked it. And I also really like, I guess, figuring out what works and what not. So looking at the analytics, like seeing when you can get people's and keep people's attention with it. So for me, it is a very fun process. And then the hard thing obviously is making money from it. So for us, I do the creative part, but then the deal negotiations Tony does a bit better. So right now he does the negotiations with brands, and it's going very well. From December or January, I'm gonna do it full time, and we yeah, I'm very excited for it.
Congrats. That's unreal. And I think that's really the key, and that's what I tell people as well. You have to enjoy the whole process. It looks like the best life ever, creating content and hiking. But the reality is it's really hard, and if you don't enjoy the whole process, you're just not going to stick with it. You're going to get burnt out, and you're going to end up hating hiking because you feel obliged to be making videos that you don't enjoy making whilst you're out there. And it's good advice, Lynn, to just don't do it if if that's not something you enjoy, because really the hike itself is what's most important, and enjoying that experience is going to be a lot more beneficial to you. But yeah, that's super cool, guys.
Yeah,
Congrats.
true.
And you guys are starting an app, right? The hike app. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so I think that's more my thing. So we said, I think the backstory is a little bit like, okay, what was the biggest hurdles that we kind of had to overcome for preparation for especially multi-day hikes. And as I was mostly doing the research, it was also me experiencing the hassle of trying to find everything out there to make or kind of to prepare as best as you can, like what kind of gear do you need, but also especially which hike do I want to do and how do I plan this. So if it's a multi-day hike, which stages do I do, where do I sleep, so all the logistics around it. And I think that also the logistics up front. So we just recently went to Lofoten, Norway, and then yeah, there's only one ferry going at one point, and if you arrive at that time, then there's just so much going on, and there's just so much work in this that if you don't love this, that it definitely raises the barrier to to start hiking these kind of
Mm.
hikes. And I said, why isn't there just one place where everything is combined? And there wasn't. And because I come from a kind of a background of working in tech startups, I figured like, why not make it myself this time? And that's what we set out to do. And nowadays, I think the exciting thing is that with AI, an option to vibe code. So you can, without knowing how to code, you can just write in plain English or Dutch or whatever your own language, and it writes code for you. It's not as good as we hoped. So we still need some, I would say, experience and backup from people that are super smart and can actually do these kind of things. So that's awesome. Yeah, and the other good thing is that we have a community that we can share it with. And I think these two things are quite essential and quite fun to just experience how this goes and just to set this up and be able to share this with people to help them to start hikes on a more pleasurable way. So that's the idea.
I think the barrier to entry, or at least the perceived barrier to entry to through hiking, but even multi-day hiking, is pretty massive. I think a lot of people don't even take those first steps because it's very overwhelming. I mean, I only got into through hiking because there's a local long distance trail near where I live, the Bibbulmun Track, 1,000 kilometers long, and I grew up sort of on that trail, so I knew it. And if I feel like I didn't have that, which sort of dipped my toes into that world and gave me the confidence to seek out other trails, it would have been really hard. And I remember on the Pacific Crest Trail talking to so many people that had such a hard time just getting to the terminus. And there would have obviously been
Yeah.
countless people that never made it to the terminus because of just the sheer amount of preparation required, which isn't always, it's like perceived preparation. Like I always tell people you should just get to the start of the trail and figure it out along the way. But the reality is there is certain logistics and things you need to carry with you to help you survive that are required. So that's super exciting. What's like the grand vision with the hike app? What do you see it becoming in the next 5 years?
So obviously we try to plan it in stages. So the first thing would be an MVP to launch with a few of the key features. And I think the key features would be like a trail advisor to help you choose a trail that fits for you. Because I feel that there's awesome apps out there like Komoot or All Trails or whatever. Like you can find a whole list and it is ranked on reviews, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right trail for you. Like sometimes if you have an injury or your fitness level is not there or your technical abilities. So it would be helping you choose and find the right trail for you, and then planning that trail in terms of like everything that comes with planning a hike, a training program. So having the option to let you train, and this could be, hey, I'm suffering with knee pain when I walk down. How do I make sure that this is not happening? Because on my trail there's a lot of elevation profile, and there would be a community element in there. So being able to share the information that you receive from the app with a community that could respond and help you further. So that would be kind of an MVP, and obviously kind of develop that over time. And then what would be a long-term vision would be having, you know, how AI agents are able to actually execute
Yeah.
certain tasks for you. I think it would be awesome if you could just say, hey, I want to go to Norway, just make sure that I get there, that everything is booked. So your flight is booked and your bus is booked when you arrive at the airport, and your ferry is booked, and you can just follow the itinerary that the app gives you. I think that would be, doesn't necessarily have to be for everyone, for if you truly enjoy researching everything, but I think for a majority of people it would be awesome if that stuff is just out of the way. So that would be kind of the long-term vision for now. Yeah.
That's super cool. It's crazy where technology is these days, and I'm always really interested in how all these new technologies like AI integrate with hiking. And I was talking to someone recently on the podcast who started through hiking in the early 2000s, when there was barely internet and there certainly wasn't AI or far out guides, and you're carrying a guidebook to hike these trails with you, and it's just like a whole different world. And we're discussing the pros and cons of technology advancing, and I think overwhelmingly it's a positive thing. And so, yeah, that's super interesting. how AI is going to sort of integrate into the world of hiking. And I love the community aspect of what you're explaining there. You know, like far out is the quintessential through hiking out for navigation, and the best part about it is the community aspect of it, where people can leave comments and sort of help each other along the trail and talk about water sources and campsites and all that kind of stuff. And I think that really is what hiking is about. It's just about getting people out in nature and enjoying it together. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, I remember Far Out was sometimes so incredibly funny on the TA. There were just comments there on the shitholes of toilets that would be at the huts, or the fire, the
Sandflies.
sand flies. Do you remember that comment? I think
No.
we sometimes it was just so funny we had to screenshot it, that it was just like, yeah, it's just really funny. I love how the humor of these.
Yeah.
I think there's an Instagram
Yeah,
page that is like something to do with far out comments, and it's just like screenshots of hilarious comments because there's some bangers.
that's
That
awesome.
reminds me actually of this. There's this one toilet in the Richmond Ranges in the South Island of New Zealand that there was so many comments on this long drop of it being like having splashback. So be very, very careful if you have to
Yeah,
take a number two there. I don't know if you guys saw that or not. It was you guys were there a year later, but I was like, surely it's not too bad, and I had to take it. I had to take a number two, so I did it, and I was as careful as I could be, as you can be. But I got the most
Mm.
disgusting amount of splashback, and it was horrible. So I just left another comment saying, "Yep, all of those people are very right. Be be careful." Oh, it's yeah, it's a wild world out there, but it's nice when people can warn you of, of all of these things that are ahead on trail.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have some advice for people who are listening to this and wanting to through hike for the first time? You guys did that last year. You stepped out onto trail, Lynn, literally for the first time overnight, and successfully walked one of the longest and most difficult through hiking trails in the world. What would you say to someone who's listening who wants to do the same, but maybe is a little overwhelmed at starting?
Best advice is just to do it, to start, and don't listen to people trying to scare you that did it. I guess things feel bigger before you start, and at the end it's just one feet in front of the other, and then you do it every day. And obviously it will be hard, but you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out along the way.
That's good advice. I would add on that it helps to do a bit of training up
Yeah.
front. So I think in total for us, we trained 3 days. I think we did 3 beach walks here in The Hague, the city that we live in the Netherlands. I think we walked 5 or 10K or so
Mm.
3 times, and we said, okay, I think we got this. And but walking like training with a backpack with at least 10 or 15 kg, and then doing a 25 kilometer yeah, k walk definitely helps, and that will make the start of any hike much more fun and enjoyable, because I think we start to enjoy the hikes much more when we became fitter. Yeah, I think
That's true.
that helps.
Yeah, it's good advice. Having a base level of fitness coming in is smart because the biggest reason people get off trails prematurely is overuse injuries, and that's just coming into trail probably a little unprepared and then going a little too hard, whether it's because you're overestimating your own ability or whether you meet people and you're trying to keep up with them, and your tendons and your ligaments and your muscles just aren't quite ready for it, and they start getting inflamed. And I see so many people getting off trail early because of easily avoidable things. But that's all incredible advice. Just starting with some preparation, putting one foot in front of the other, and starting slow, I would say, easing into it and figuring
Mm.
out along the way is really the best advice. The reality is through hiking is super simple. It's just you're just walking, and it's just like lots of little backpacking trips back to back. You're resupplying towns, and you figure out the whole process as you do it. And so don't let how big it seems stop you from starting the hike. Thanks so much for joining me today,
that's
guys.
right.
Where can people find you guys? Your socials, your website? Let us know.
So on all socials, we're called Noodles and Blisters. So that's an easy one. And so far, we don't have a name for our app. But if you want to follow the journey of how we are building it, there will be content on there a bit more in the future. Now it's called the Hike app.
Incredible. And I'll leave all of Toon and Lin's links in the podcast description so you guys can go check them out and follow along the journey. I know you guys have plenty more hikes planned. Do you have any big through hikes planned in the coming years? Pacific Crest Trail, anything?
We're still debating. I guess in the last week of the TA, I asked Tony if he wanted to walk the Pacific Crest Trail with me.
Straight after.
Then his answer at that time was no, but I don't know. Have you changed your mind?
I mean, it looks amazing. I think, I mean, you're best to tell, but I feel that compared to the TA, the PCT looks much more like even more in nature, and the trails look a bit better. So you can make a bit more miles a day. It's also, I feel it's also just such a big investment, not necessarily in money or financially, but also in terms of time and time away from family and friends. And I think at this point, what I also really enjoy is just having a home base and operating from here, doing smaller trips and just doing like 10-day hikes. And yeah, I would love to do just a 10-day hike every month and then coming home and enjoying a bit here. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I think there might be this urge again to that will just start creeping up. And then if that will be there for too long, then we would just have to go back on trail.
The trail will call you back at some point. But yeah, go follow along these guys. They're putting out some really cool content, and I'm sure you'll see them on the PCT sooner rather than later. Thanks again for making the time today, guys. It was super cool to chat.
Thanks, Cam.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
If you guys enjoyed this episode of the Life Outside podcast, make sure to follow wherever you're listening and give us a 5-star rating. It's much appreciated. And I'll see you guys very soon. Cheers.
Cheers.